Why not? Why not? Yep, it's Saturday. But what are we focused on? Yes, we are. I don't know. Maybe there's an audience for it. Maybe there's no audience for it. But I'm certainly thinking about it. Let me check. There's X. Yep. I'll go back to that. I am. Yep. Now. Yes. Shannon is here for it. There's Joan. Hi there, Debbie. All right. Oh, okay. There's Jane Rice. Yes, we'll let everybody file in a little bit. Why not? Listen, it's a rainy Saturday. So I thought I would talk a little Karen Reed. We have our mods. Thus, I don't think I need to worry about any stooges are coming in, so then I can talk freely. I will take some questions. I will go into the questions. We don't always get a chance to do that. Let me check. There's our YouTube crowd. Yes, I like it, Shannon. There's Brooke. Thank you very much, Donna Marie. Yes. All right. Well, if I wear glasses, then I can see everything. And I think that might be the point, right? I would like to interact, but I want to talk about what Hank Brennan did yesterday because I keep going back and rewatching it. And he did a lot yesterday. And if I why not live on a Saturday? There's a couple things I want to mention to everybody. So, and there's we have a nice crowd on Facebook. There's Renee, hello. There's Lynn Miller. Yes. There's our Facebook crowd. So I want to take you inside a little bit, everybody, because let me just double check. Because so when I'm live, there we go. All right, nice connection on Facebook as well. Yes. Hi there, Mary D. I appreciate that. Well, I am on national television every night. So you don't have to miss me. All right, I'll go with the glasses just so I can see comments and so forth. But I want to I want to be comfortable and I want to you hate justice. All right. Now see, I don't that is absolutely ridiculous. Somebody get rid of that person. I'll get rid of that person. Okay. Here's the that is ludicrous, but I'm not going to get distracted by the comments because I want to say a couple of things. Hi there, Heather. Let me hold on. Okay. And then there's that. I want to talk a little bit and then I'll go into the questions a little bit with the comments. But I want to tell you there's so much about this that anyone that if you first of all, let me totally back. It's Saturday. This was not planned. 12:34. So we're live on X right now, YouTube and Facebook. Now, during the weekdays, I'm live from 1 to 2. So which is great, but the downside is I'm also live on the radio. And we have our sponsors, which are fantastic, don't get me wrong. But as a result of that, I have to really be cautious of language. And I don't mean by me, but I have to be cautious of where I am because there's so much attention with this case, or anywhere, actually, for that matter. So what you're watching is we're going to start to evolve more. And I'll have a lot of guests on. Many of you, I'm new to you, but I would put my interviewing skills up with anyone. And we're going to really start to utilize these 3 platforms, and especially YouTube, where we're going to grow. and X that we continue to grow, and Facebook. So I think so many of you that have been so supportive, I think, and again, I'm going to leave it to the moderators to take care of some of the clowns. And there's a lot of clowns. And they're upset right now on this Saturday. Because what Hank Brennan did yesterday, he didn't just make the case. You know what I loved about Hank Brennan, and I've been going back and watching it, is he just didn't make the case that she's guilty. He destroyed Karen Reed yesterday. I love that you know what, by the way, and I just made a mistake. From now on, it's Karen Reed who was drunk that night. I love that he was saying she was. In local media, they never mention that. She was drunk. Karen Reed, who was drunk that night. That's what every sentence should begin with. I'm tired of this bullshit. But I want to tell you how I got here. And there's so many clowns out there. Focus on what was presented in court. Hank Brennan, that was brilliant what he did. And Jackson had nothing. That's an embarrassing defense. I'm going to tell you how embarrassing that friggin' defense is. That defense, there's no collision. Anyone that believes that, there's something wrong with you if you believe that. That's ludicrous. I'm not going to cover the friggin' protesters that are out today on whatever day. It's ludicrous. But where they were so arrogant is they're trying to tell the jury, don't believe your lying eyes. Listen to me. Those frauds from ARCA with their PhDs, and it's bullshit. Alan Jackson, there was no collision. It's like, listen to me. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? She backed up. He's found dead in a debris field of her broken taillight, and she's got a broken taillight, and she's saying, I hit him. So don't tell me there was no collision. Like, it's insanity. And I do appear on these shows. And again, if I don't go, if I don't appear, then it's all, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Where they're disingenuous, for those of you that have followed the case. Like, don't tell me there's no collision. It's stupid. As I was saying, you could bring a 10-year-old. She backed up. They don't dispute that. His cell phone stopped moving. The temperature and everything. He's lying in a debris field with her broken, blanking taillight. The other night, I won't get into names. Someone on television, they can't prove it's exactly her taillight fiber in his clothes. Like, what are you what is wrong with you people? It's not that complicated. The problem is many of the people that, and I will read comments and I will answer questions. I will. But I want to get into a rhythm first. Many of you that follow, I sometimes can get easily distracted. The people in front of the courthouse, of which the media love, I think they're embarrassing. All these people in pink and the messages they send me. The polls are 80-20, someone sent me. I don't give a shit. The fucking poll is. All right? I've been on this story for 2 years. They keep changing the story. Yesterday, Jackson had him in the fucking garage. I love that. Oh, now he's in the garage. I thought he was in the basement. Oh, now he's in the garage. Maybe he's in the fucking attic. Maybe he was up on the roof. Like, maybe they threw him from the roof. She was drunk. She was drunk. He can't say that enough. You never hear Boston media say that. She was drunk. And she was. That explains her behavior. And then it became self-preservation. Hank Brennan laid it out beautifully for anyone that wants to see what happened. It's right there. You're an adult. You make the decision. These people out in front, Karen, the friggin' pink. So embarrassing. They're embarrassing. Karen, my queen. What the fuck is wrong with you? Don't you understand? The people on the Karen Reed side, they're skeevy. They're sketchy. They're what I call like a casino crowd. They're shaky. They lie. They're pathological liars on her side. The people that support the O'Keefes are good people, and I'm proud to be one of them. And I've had people like, enough is enough. It's time for you to change your mind, or, stop this, come over. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing that. I want to be very clear. When I first got onto this case 2 years ago, July of 23, I was told it was probably not going to go to trial. And that's what they were doing with the witnesses, of which they will be sued, by the way. There will be charges after this. She's going to get charged with that. And her little minions. They were trying to intimidate the McCabe's, the Alberts, and I fucking hate these people that say, the McAlberts, Karen, Auntie they're the word loser is a word that's used too much. They're uneducated. They're fools. Dimwits. She purposely put people to try to discourage them from testifying. That's what happened. That's what that was all about. Karen Reed, who was drunk that night, from now on, anytime her name is mentioned, I loved Hank Brennan. She was drunk. Her whole goal was the McCabe say, that's it. We're not testifying. And then maybe Brian Albert and his family say, no, we're not doing this. And then the Commonwealth, Massachusetts prosecutors would say, that's it. We have no case. The witnesses won't testify. Therefore, we have to cut a deal with her or let her go. That was the plan. It failed. But what Hank Brennan did yesterday is he just didn't destroy their argument. He destroyed Karen Reed. For those that want to see the truth, it's there. It's there for those that want to see it. A lot of people don't want the truth. The people in pink, they don't want to learn the truth. They want to stay in their conspiracy. At this point, if you are saying that there was no collision, that there's no hope, they're not even worth arguing with or having a discussion. If you're still saying the Google search was 227, which to me is the litmus test, if there's someone that says, yes, the Google search happened at 227, you're beyond, someone else can try to take on the case. You're beyond help. Don't you understand? The lies keep falling. They set up conspiracy walls. Where Hank Brennan was excellent yesterday was he took people through. He explained that she made a decision. He said, she could have gone home, could have talked about it the next day. She could have broke up with him. She made the decision. Karen Reed did, who was drunk that night. And what did she do? She put it in reverse and gunned it. She did that. Doesn't matter that she regrets it now. None of that matters. I like how Hank Brennan was so great. God, he was so good. Starts off looking at the O'Keefe family, makes eye contact with Peg O'Keefe. Do you think that was lost on the jury? Peg O'Keefe, who sits there, who's so wonderful. I like how Hank Brennan talked about, she went into self-preservation mode. For those that want to get into it, it would take her less than 10 minutes to get Jen McCabe's house. Where was she for 28 minutes? She went, love how Hank Brennan said, she saw death. She saw him lying there. She was drunk, panicked, it kicked in what she had done. And she went into That's why she was then such a mess at the scene. But when she called Jen McCabe, right, what did she say? I left him at the waterfall. And what did Jen McCabe say? No, no, Karen, I saw you guys. I saw your car in front of the house. Click. She realized. I love how Hank Brennan said she pivoted. She called Kerry Roberts. John's dead. I think a plow hit him in a second. And then the lies just kept going. But what I like that Hank Brennan said was, notice here, and he did it so effectively, she dragged people in. She dragged Jen McCabe in. Jen McCabe and Kerry Roberts, they went because it was John O'Keefe. You know, I didn't know John O'Keefe, but based on the people that he surrounded himself with, I love his, Paul's a great guy, his mom. If you're John O'Keefe and you have friends like Kerry Roberts and Jen McCabe, that tells me a lot. She dragged people in. Then she dragged her parents in. Then she dragged her brother in. Then she dragged Janetti in. Then she started all those people in front of the courthouse. She's dragged them all in to her lies, her made-up fabled tale. That's people on the outside laugh at this. Like, what happened? Do people? I know they don't. Karen, my queen. With these obnoxious, non-credible experts like Marie, the dog fraud expert. I do like Alessi, though. Your Honor. I like when Alessi, who's never done this type of thing before, not in a criminal trial, when he asks a question, and I loved how Aperture would say, well, no, you wouldn't do that because the answer is obvious. And Alessi, exactly. As if he was trying to lead them there. I do like, he actually is a wicked nice guy. And I'm going to see him on Monday, and I'll tell him I've enjoyed it. But let me just be very clear, folks. See, to me, let me back up. So July of 23, we looked at the case, and I just didn't do it alone. I have an attorney, and I work with, and we went over the documents. There's certain police that I know. And then when I looked at it, we made the decision. I just said, I don't see it. There's no motive, right? There's no murder weapon. And I didn't believe the story. I was told that Karen said it because she was brainwashed that morning. I don't believe in that. I was told that Brian Albert confessed to someone. That guy was going to come forward. That didn't make sense because then why is this going on? Where's that guy? The early lies, there was blood on the doorknob, lie. I never believed the Google search. I was first told Google search was done inside 34 Fairview. Not true. Then when they found out, got the data that showed Jen McCabe was home, then they changed it to she was home. Do you understand? They kept changing the story. I was told, like a lot of other people, Colin Albert, I was told, the poor kid, he was a high school kid. Vicious drug dealer. John was sniffing around. They wanted to teach him a lesson. He walked in, Colin punched him. They beat him to death and threw. Like, do you understand? All of that evaporated. And those people just keep going along. Boy, one thing about, do you understand the power of cult and the power of conspiracy? It's actually frightening. So that fall of 23, I had my own health situation going on. I won't elaborate too much. I was told this is not going to trial. But July, August, September, I was outspoken and said, I don't believe this story. Do you understand? I said that. I didn't think, I was told it was never going to go to trial. But I've never veered off that. If anything, I was also told, yeah, that's right. I was also told it was a cop party. It wasn't a cop party. It was, a family. Quick, you don't want the night to end. Blizzard tomorrow. Everybody come over for last call. Then when I really started to learn more about the witnesses, right? Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, these are really good people. Brian Albert, I covered Brian. Brian was the one I actually knew of him because I covered the Craigslist killer. But my point is, when I looked at it, and also, I'm not going to get, listen, there's certain people that want to be talked about, that want to be the focal point. There are certain people that are upset that I'm on Court TV, upset that I'm on Fox Nation, upset that I'm going to be in the Fox News Channel documentary. In July, August, 2 years ago, thinking the case was never going to go to trial, I said, I don't believe what they were trying to peddle to me. And I said that, never knowing there was going to be a first trial, and certainly never knowing there was going to be a second trial. But since I dug more into the case, it's evaporated even more. And for those that want to pay attention, it's really, they're walls that melt, right? The Google search was, if you still believe the 227 Google search, I can't help you. I don't think anyone can help you. These people that go and blindly help her, I don't. They're chasing a lie. Karen Reed made up the whole thing. People don't get that, and I get it. People are distracted, but the more I've learned about the case, I realize that my instincts of 2 years ago. Now, again, I just didn't like on a dime. We looked at court documents. I was watching video, listening to someone who was strongly behind it, urging me, telling me, blah, blah, blah. It just seemed off. I didn't believe it then. Forget it now. But what Hank Brennan did yesterday, I think it was really powerful. Now, I know there are people out there, I'll bet you know. I'm not betting on a blanking murder trial. The people that you see in front of the courthouse, I don't know what to make of them. I don't. I'm glad I'm not related to anyone like that. I'm glad I can't be friends with someone like that. I can't. Maybe other people could. I could not sit and listen to someone talk about that. I could not. And I'm not trying to say like I'm better than anyone, but it's just, you got to know yourself. I can't listen to that bullshit. What about the butt dials? But what are you talking about? That's a distraction. That's, as Hank Brennan said, look the other way. Those aren't dog bites. Do you understand? The defense tried to get every major dog bite expert in the country, and none of them would testify. They had to find the old hag, Marie Russell, out in California. Oh, dog abrasions. I've never heard of that before. Dog abrasions. Marie LaPasada. He was dead within 5 minutes. Yeah. The fuck was that? Darth Vader on the stage. He was 7'2". Make the check out to my consulting company. Listen, she wasn't credible in front of the jury. Oh yeah, great job at the fucking station nightclub fire. I was there before she was there. I was there when she arrived. She got there at 7:00 that Friday night. Then she got fired because the morgue was a disaster. That lady, whatever. And I know other people have called her various things. Like, listen, she has a menu. She has a rate card. You want me to say this? It's this much. You want me to say this? It's that much. There are some people, they didn't talk about that enough. There's some people, there's some expert witnesses that are like, listen, you pay me the certain amount, I'll say that I was driving, like whatever. And I know people go into, well, Aperture was paid. Listen, do you want this thing done or not? Look who you're dealing with. But Hank Brennan, he just illustrated exactly what happened. She was drunk. She made a decision. Listen, there were people depending on him. He wasn't 90 and they gave him the wrong medication in the home and then he died. Like, he was 46. The niece and nephew were depending on him. He was tired of her. She was drunk all the time. And she lies. I'll tell you some Karen Reed lies. You know, she said, oh, it's because of Dunkin' Donuts. No, that's not what it was. John didn't like her driving the niece and nephew because he suspected she was drinking all the time during the day. That's what that was about. It wasn't that she was spoiling them by taking them to Dunkin' Donuts. She's a pathological liar. She was drunk. No, that's what it was. You know what else in that video? Oh, by the way, when she was talking to, when Jen McCabe was talking to John and Karen, you know, when Karen says, you two's blasted, there was no music in the background. There's no music in the background. That's another lie. How do you know Karen Reed's talking? Lying, excuse me. How do you know Karen Reed's lying? Her lips are moving. That was another lie. They were arguing. He was like, I can't put up with this lunacy anymore. And you're drunk all the time. Like, who needs it? Whatever. You know, this was fun in the beginning. But, like, I can't put up with this diva bullshit. Plus, you're drunk. She was drunk. I love that, Hank Brennan. She was drunk. It's reminiscent of the line, remember in The Godfather Waltz, where he's talking about she was beautiful. She could sing, she could dance, she could act. She was the best piece of ass I ever. Right? When he's telling off Tom Hagen. I ain't no band lead, like that speech. She was beautiful. Hank Brennan was almost channeling that a little bit. She was a drunk. She was a lie. She was. Listen, John O'Keefe, 46, single, 6'1", Boston cop, good-looking guy, niece and nephew. Like, he needed to put up with her nonsense. And she's throwing herself at Higgins. Yeah, it must be tough to find some old drunk. Hank Brennan destroyed Karen Reed yesterday and her whole lie. That's what it was. Jen McCabe and Kerry Roberts went out to help their friend John. That's why they went out. And as Hank Brennan said, Jen McCabe was trying to help and turn on her. It's between me and Jen. You know why? Because Jen McCabe saw the vehicle. Because Jen McCabe heard her say, I hit him. Because Jen McCabe told her to Google that. The other thing I was going to mention, in a clip, Karen says, well, I said to Dave Yannetti, like, what if I clipped him? What if I ran over his foot? That's another lie. She didn't say, what if? Karen Reed said, but I told the real truth. She told Yannetti, well, I hit him and I clipped him and I ran over his foot, I think. And then Yannetti said, well, then there's culpability. And then she flipped it to, you know, the same thing with that bullshit. I didn't say, you know, did I hit him? I said it was preceded by a did I hit him and followed by a question mark. I love how Hank Brennan mocks her for the, I didn't hit him. I mean, I didn't hit him. What are you, OJ? You think, you know, OJ with Nicole in that video, you think I like hitting you? Remember the OJ audio of her calling 911? Do you think I like OJ Simpson beating Nicole? You think I like turning Mr. Hand into Mr. Fist? You think I'd like it? You made me hit you. That was her ad. That was Karen Reed. Do you think I like putting reverse and hitting you? You made me hit you. That's why she's screaming at him. That's why she's screaming in the voicemail. I fucking hate you. Oh, yeah, that's rational. Well, you know, I was upset. I like her with I was upset. You know, he's supposed to go in and check it out. And I'm just sitting there. So I'm like, oh, I'll drive home. Oh, yeah, that's rational. Yeah, real calm. I fucking hate you, you fucking pervert. You know who talks that way? A drunk that just backed up with the gas pedal floored. La Posada. Those are bear bites. Thanks, Marie. Where's my check? Oh, your check's waiting for you. They got the envelope. Alessi, could you get her the check? Marie Russell. I want Alessi in the limo. Who told you that? Mr. Alessi did. Oh, really? When was this? In the limo. Really? That's interesting. Thank you, Marie Russell. Can I fly back to LA or can I stay a few more days? Jeez, no, we're all set. You can fly back to wherever. La Posada. Give me $100,000. I'll say he wasn't hit by the vehicle. Good afternoon. It's morning. How the fuck hungover was she? Jesus. Karen. She was drunk. Listen. I'm trying to be patient here. There was no collision. It's so stupid. I could get, maybe I could try to do a demonstration with like some school kids. Show it, that would be interesting. Show some school kids the basics of the case. Maybe I'll do that. I do have access to a friend of mine runs, I may do that. Get children. I don't think I have time between now and Monday, but just get a group of, 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 7-year-olds, show them the whole thing and then say, what do you think happened here? I think a child would say, well, I think that lady's car backed up and hit, right? How many kids think he was brought into the basement? How many kids think he was I like Jackson yesterday. Well, he was in the garage. Really, Alan? When did he end up in the garage? As soon as we found out about the temperature on the cell phone. Karen remembered he was actually headed towards the garage. Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, maybe he's on the fucking roof, right? I remember John started climbing a tree, and I said, U2's blasting. And I said, John, I don't think you could climb the tree. And I pulled away, and I think he must have fallen and hit his head falling out of the tree. That would have been a better defense. I wish she should have talked to me. I mean, not that I would have helped her in that manner, but the whole house thing is like so preposterous. Really, and then they threw him on the front lawn. There's the scene at the Wizard of Oz when she, at the very, very end, when they corral, and she's like, yeah, and you were all there. And then, the guy that plays the wizard's like, really? Oh, okay. Well, the poor kid got her, she got banged on the head. Yeah. And I was in a land, and there was a witch, and all of you were there. Oh, really? That's an interesting story. There's a scene in Heaven Can Wait when Warren Beatty, he's talking to, the trainer. And he's like, do you remember that? He's like, oh, Mr. Farnsworth. That's quite a story. I mean, at least she should have, before he got out of the car, John said he wanted to climb a tree. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. I said, you could fall and hit your head. And he started climbing a tree. And I thought, I don't want to climb a tree. I want to drink some more. Those were weak drinks. That was weak Tito's. I like stiff drinks for people who want to get drunk in a hurry. At least then you'd have him by the flagpole, right? Then it'd be like, oh, he fell out of the tree and hit his head. Actually, you could even say he climbed up the tree, fell, and hit the taillight when he hit the ground. At least then you have him there. I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to mock this in any way, but I want to get back to Hank Brennan yesterday. I mean, that was just, I thought it was also effective. The cinder block. I love how he threw in the look the other way, because that was Jackson's line. And I love how they're all, he stole that line. As if they copyrighted it, right? There was no, come on, there was no collision. See, do you understand where I'm going to answer your questions in a moment if you have any. Where that fails is you're asking people to check their common sense at the door. And what I mean by that, where I believe this was a failed defense strategy, is their strategy was like, we're going to convince these people, we're going to convince everyone there was no collision. But if you're in the jury, now again, I like this jury. I like the format. Whatever they render, that's the decision. I'm telling you. That's it. Unless there's some kind of a ringer, but I don't think that's the case. We're all going to find out. They start deliberating on Monday. But I could see a juror saying, I go way back. When I was in college was the Klaus von Bülow retrial, right? And they brought in, they made it a medical trial. The first trial of Klaus von Bülow, which was on CNN, but it was the soap opera, and he had a motive and the whole thing. And his girlfriend was on, I think, one of the CBS soap operas, The Guiding Light, maybe. So anyhow, he wanted to be with her. But and then he was found guilty. But in the retrial of Klaus von Bülow, it was all medical. They brought in this great lawyer from New York, Tom Puccio. And I was mesmerized by the guy. And he made it, for every doctor they put up, he brought up a doctor and said it could have been these diet pills she was taking. He made the whole thing science. And then at the end, the jury was like, it was a medical trial, is my point. It was a medical trial. I thought that was very effective. The problem, my view, no collision, is it'd be one thing if I was on a jury and they said, listen, this is a deeply medical situation. Then you have to defer to the doctors. If this were some kind of a legal nuance, maybe you'd say, boy, that's pretty complicated. Or I don't know. I'm just like, spitballing here. If there was some kind of something with chemistry, or, you can't prove exactly like that. But what they're asking them to do is suspend their common sense on if there was a collision. Okay, she backed up. He's found in a debris field of taillight, and she's got a broken taillight. But Alan Jackson saying, you can't check common sense and your own experience at the door. So just because you have these assholes come in from ARCA with their pink tie saying, giving birthday wishes, and the other one who's so obnoxious with the Signal app, it was so offensive, because they were basically saying to the jury, you people are so stupid. We're going to convince you that she didn't back into him. Like that's ludicrous, because what they're missing is, okay, let's play that out. There was no collision. Then how the hell did he end up there? Oh, it was dog bites. So as he's lying there, what, a dog started biting him? Like it doesn't go anywhere. But they're trying to say, no, that's reasonable. That's not reasonable doubt, right? Reasonable doubt would be if no one knows how he got there. Reasonable doubt could be they have no idea how he was arriving there. They all leave. He said, I'll hitch a ride. And then if they had found him by the roadside near Waterfall, maybe that becomes an argument for reasonable doubt. But this isn't, right? I mean, they have the Lexus on the street. They have his cell phone there. I believe, and I'll answer some of your questions, I believe it was the wrong tactic to take, because you're asking the jury to ignore what is very obvious, and with nothing behind it, right? Not like to me, I'm just, again now, but they should have gone after like Lucky the plow driver. He had a beef with John, and that guy saw him, and he hit him and left him there. I mean, what I'm saying is, they didn't leave any other credible explanation of why he's there. I know people say they don't have to do that, but then there's common sense. How did he end up there, right? So just to sum it up on this Saturday, I think Hank Brennan made the case. I like how he explained it. Person throws a boulder off a highway. Oh, I didn't mean to hit the car. Well, there's cars speeding. You have a large rock. You throw it over, and then you say, I didn't mean to hit the car. Well, when you decided to throw it over, that's the problem. I thought it was very effective when Hank Brennan said you wouldn't back up in your driveway the way she did if there were children in the driveway. How do we back up in the driveway? We all go very slowly backwards. Actually, in all times, not just driveways, but anytime you're backing up, right? Like we go really slow. You're backing up, let alone if you're in a parking space. You're backing up. You don't floor it. You certainly wouldn't floor it in the driveway. I believe Hank Brennan very successfully explained that when she made that decision, that was it, the act. She was drunk and she pivoted from Jen McCabe to Kerry Roberts. I also like he said she went to the scene. They don't fully have. Where did she go? Right? Where did she go? I believe she was at Fairview. I believe she was at Fairview. And I like when Hank Brennan said she changed even more because she had seen death. She had seen what she had done. So, on this Saturday, I don't know what that means. Potential witness intimidation charges is when the show begins. If that happens, grab your popcorn. I don't know what that means. Cops, detectives can only do so much. Yes, I agree, Brooke. Not easy. And the system doesn't work on these people have false sense of what reasonable doubt is, by the way. Hi there. Who else? The defense called Lucky to put reasonable doubt. Yeah, but they were championing him. They weren't putting him as hi there, Boomer. We're not putting him as like a suspect. So I think they called him because they were low on witnesses. That's right, Laura. The buffalo on the prairie. Boy, she's something else. Boy, she's got away with words. She was drunk. That's exactly right, Mike. She was drunk. She hit him and she left him to die. It's not complicated. You have people defending her mean well. You weren't treated the same way. I don't know what that means, Agent 99. Wouldn't even make national. I can't understand that. I don't know who these other people are. Duty Ron. That was great. Wasn't it, Truth? In a driveway. That's right. Believe that, Nelson. Totally believe that, Nelson. No question, Anthony. I don't know what that means. I have thoughts on that. I'm going to wait till the end. But I did post that I think it was a good choice, but I'm not going to elaborate. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. I don't know what happened with that. He has no courage to stand up for the truth. I think he just didn't see anything, and then he embellished it to be. He became Sergeant Schultz. I see nothing. I know nothing. There's Nancy McCormick. Yes, I like this jury. I do. Let me see what else. There was some things that didn't look good from the police side, but none of that impacted what happened that night, Anthony. None of it. Listen, Canton, they don't do homicides. Yeah, all right. So if Canton handled it casually, that doesn't mean you let her go. As someone that deals with police, there's always typos on police reports. Sometimes they spell people's names wrong. They have the wrong address. They live at 79 Main Street. They put 179 Main Street. There's always, it doesn't mean you let her go. People, that's reasonable doubt right there. It doesn't mean that. Thank you, Shannon. Well, Susie, that was covered. I mean, if you saw, it was actually, Susie, it was the ARCA demonstration that showed, I want to address that. How do you get hit with a car with no bruises? What do you call the back of his head when he landed and hit the ground? If you watch the ARCA videos, they show how she clipped him, and then you would not have bruises. His right knee was banged up, By the way, there's always examples of people that get hit and get up and walk away. So that's false. Notice it's always the question. Susie Q73. How do you get hit by a car with no bruises? How do you have a broken taillight? I mean, I can do questions as well all day. How did he land on the lawn? Max remains. SUV's doing 3-point. Yeah, John O'Keefe phone doesn't move. That's exactly right, Heisenberg. I like that from Breaking Bad. This investigation hurts. It's a tad. I don't know what that means. If you don't talk to text, they're saving hung jury makes. They are saving hung jury. I don't know what that means. Makes no sense. I don't think it's going to be a hung jury. I know. It did. Of course, Laura, and it should. No one, that's right. No one saw a body. And Lucky backed up what everyone else said. And they weren't looking for a body. So I appreciate that. You're so naturally funny. You know, I try to use humor. I sometimes in the 1 to 2, I'm a little constricted, but I'm going to start doing more of these, and you'll like that. So thank you. I feel I'm very comfortable, very natural. So they are. It's actually embarrassing to see all those people in front of the courthouse. It is. Yes. No, I was told that. Yep. Jay King, I was told that from one of his friends. I've told you, impressions of the jury. I'll say this about the jury. Hank won over the jury. Hank built the rapport with the jury. Hank can read the jury. Listen, I'm glad Shannon said that. They're not going to let Peg O'Keefe down. Karen Reed was drunk. They're not going to let Peg O'Keefe down. They're not going to let Hank down. The defense never got into a groove unless he was a bore with the jury. And Yannetti was MIA, and Jackson was just like an angry guy. So the defense, they did not build a rapport with this jury. No. He didn't need to. He mentioned that, but I'm not going to second guess Hank on that. Hi there, Joan. I don't know. It's tough. You know, I think there's a lot of pressure on them. I don't know. You know, I mean, conventional wisdom would be, now this is a short, well, not a short week, but Thursday's a national holiday. So they're going to deliberate Monday, Tuesday. If there's no verdict, if we're going into Thursday and there's no verdict, that could be a cause of concern. It could be, but I don't think so. I don't think so. That's right, Tanya. Isn't it amazing? And I get it. Not everyone follows everything. Balago, oh God, that's embarrassing. Right, but I meant of ones that they wanted to actually put on the stand. That they wanted to put on the stand. That's what I mean. I don't know who these people are. He is brilliant, Rose. He delivered big time. Well, some of those people are just, you know, I don't know who Duty Ron is. Let me try it this way. You know, arrogance, Cat. It probably got away from her. It got away from her. Hi there, Catherine. Hi there. It was facts. It was. He was great. She was drunk. I don't know who Duty Ron is. I'll have to look him up. Probably, Tanya. Probably. Listen, many times, if you watch The Sopranos, what happened? What do they do? The easiest thing, I've covered gang trials. I've covered even organized crime trials. It's very easy if they go to a witness and they say, just say you didn't see anything. Just say you don't remember. What did Lucky say? I didn't see anything. I mean, that's not courage. But you were looking. Yeah, I was looking. I didn't see anything. You know, I think they had him like, and how about people, you know what's funny was some people were saying he was the best witness I've ever seen by saying he didn't see anything. Yeah, the McCabe's didn't see anything either. See, that tells you a lot. If Lucky Loughran is considered a great witness, Lucky was great. Some people, he's the best witness I ever saw. How come? He didn't see anything. Well, you get Ray Charles, right? Helen Keller is the best witness I've ever seen. You know, I was on Court TV with her the other night. I don't know that much about her work. other than I believe they have a false, Mike is talking about this, Annie, false sense of how the jury works. She was saying the guy from Dighton that testified, folks, the jury already has forgotten about that guy. He's not even, she was like, he was so powerful. Powerful? What? No, it doesn't work that way. No. I don't know who Carl is. Why embellish and put your relationships at risk? I don't know who you're talking about, Carrie. Sorry. She's not guilty, Karen. Anyone can say that, but you're not telling us then what happened to him. She's not guilty. What about what? All right, Karen Charbonneau, since you put it, what about Hank? What Hank Brennan said is not accurate, because I think it's totally accurate. The boulder was great. It was. I agree with you, Alicia. That's another thing. These people, she's going to make a fortune. You know, I had people telling me, oh, OJ, he gets out of this, he's going to make a fortune. How'd that work out? She's still a pariah. She's still a pariah. And even if she's found not guilty, it doesn't change the facts. It doesn't. They were all involved. Cheryl, who is they? Unless you're just talking to someone else. They were all involved. She didn't draw Yannetti in. He said this was a terrible. That's true. Well, he has to be careful. That's true. I don't know who Carl is. Well, that's what he said initially. I don't know who Carl is. Wasn't that great? That is Duncan on the big time. He used the Arca video. I love that. Why do I feel so good about the jury? Because thank you, Susie. There we go. How do you get hit by a car with no bruises? Thank you, Susie. I need to start to push those more. What do they call them? What are the gifts on YouTube? I forget. They are called super chats, I think. We're going to expand more into. I mean, we have a good following, right? We're almost at 64,000 on YouTube. I'm not that familiar with the gifts, though. How do you get hit by a car with no bruises? Susie, the Arca video showed how he spinned out of the way and went propelled, but it's not as though he had, I mean, he fractured his skull, but he wasn't hit straight on is the answer. Okay. I don't know who Carl is. That's also true, Julianne. Lucky confused the time. You know, he lives in Canton. He's always going to be in Canton. I think he was just trying to appease the crowd. That's what I think. And he pulled a Sergeant Schultz. I didn't see anything. That's the easiest thing. Watch an episode of The Sopranos. They just go to a witness and say, you don't remember. Just say you didn't see anything. It's easier that way. If you tell the police, you know, on second thought, I didn't see anything. There's only so much they can do. So if Lucky said, I didn't see anything. And then he said, I mean, I really didn't see anything. I think they had him embellished too. And I was looking far and low. Like, I don't believe that. Here's what you should know. Lucky had no impact on the jury. None. No impact on the jury. That was going to happen anyway, Tiger Lily. One of the jurors had to be somewhere. So they didn't announce it, but they were always ending at 4:30. A lot of the media didn't know that. See, I want people to remember, I spent more time in that courtroom than any other member of the courtroom, than any other member of the media. They were always leaving yesterday at 4:30 because of somebody had to be somewhere. This Elizabeth, hola, said he didn't look mortally wounded. Well, she saw him. She drove past him. And what's so important about that, thank you, Deborah. What's so important about that is, and you heard from both Dr. Lapazada and you heard from Dr. Wolf, the neurosurgeon from Miami, that it's only in a movie where then you lie flat and you're dead. He was probably having a seizure. His arms and legs very easily could have been moving. So that's what she saw. Like after she clipped him, here's what I believe. And I said this the other night, and the person I was on with didn't understand really what the charge is. I said, I'll even say when she saw him on the ground, she didn't realize how badly he had hit his head. But she was also drunk and then peeled out of there. So when he said he didn't look mortally wounded, she probably saw his legs and arms moving, but he was already unconscious and probably having a seizure, and she fractured his skull. He had brain damage at that moment, but it doesn't mean you then just lie flat. But that was well, Karen Charbonneau, you're just stating statements, but he was never hit by a car. Well, we believe Hank Brennan made a very convincing argument about that. Very convincing. And where you're wrong, Karen, is Aperture. They proved he was hit by a car. All right, Karen, we can play this game. Can you explain the broken taillight and why he was found in a debris field of her taillight? And then how did he get there? Take on the jury. I think it's a good jury. And what I like is this jury responds to Hank Brennan. I'm aware there are some people out there that wanted to give people the impression that the jury doesn't like Hank Brennan. They love none of that's true. Here's what some of you should understand is the jury is not stupid to believe it was no, Felicia, it doesn't take genius to figure it out. The jury's not stupid to believe it was no collision. Josie, I don't know then what that, I don't know. There's no one in that courtroom that doesn't believe there was a collision. There's no one in the courtroom that believes there was no collision. I'm telling you. But there are some members of the media that Karen has deals with, and she has IOUs. If I get off of this, I'm going to do a book tour. There's going to be a movie. I'm going to get a reality show. You're going to be part of it. She's made a lot of promises. There are certain members of the media, they see not guilty equals dollar signs. There's certain members of the media, and so they're trying to help her report positive coverage for her as much as possible. So they're saying the jury doesn't like Hank, blah, blah, blah. There are some members of the press with mainstream outlets that are they want her to be found not guilty because they feel that's the biggest story and they can cash in. So, I don't know who Carl is. He must be a YouTube person, I think. It isn't a debate. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. I don't know. But they also, I think that was on Court TV. I think it's, she has a false sense of what stands out to the jury. I mean, to me, you know why? Notice the Karen supporters, they never talk about the film clips. They never talk about that. They don't talk, they never talk about that she was drunk. They never talk about the film clips. They don't offer, how did he get there surrounded by taillight pieces, James? They never talk about that. The police did not screw this up. That's exactly right, Kimmy. It is. Yep. You cannot get hit by a car with no bruises, says Susie. There are examples of that. Again, Susie, here's the thing. If you go online, you can see it's the defense witnesses, ARCA, demonstrating with the mannequin how he spins out of his sneaker. You can see that. Susie, what you're thinking of is a straight-on collision. That's not what this was. This was a clip. He was trying to jump out of the way. That also, you cannot get hit by a car. Well, even she says, did I clip him? Susie, I have a question for you. Why would Karen say, I didn't hit him? Why would she say, what if I clipped him? Hank says ARCA proved our point for us. Yes, I agree with that. His right knee was not banged up. Stop lying. No, his right knee was banged up, Kerry. Listen, there's no lies here. What I'm telling you is in testimony. You can find that. You don't have to believe me. So, Kerry, so you believe there was a dog. Hmm. Those are not dog bites. There's no dog DNA. All right, let's. Nate is saying he worked with police, helped with many wounds, seen injuries, look exact marks. Whose dog? What dog? A neighborhood dog? A stray dog? What dog? There's no dog. I didn't see a dog in this. There's no dog in evidence. What dog? The neighbor's dog? A stray dog? Those are dog bites. How come they couldn't get a dog expert to come on the stand and say that? Don't say Marie Russell. She's never testified in a case before. Let's see. That's exactly right. Thank you, Tanya. I like when people answer some of this stuff for me. Okay, let's talk about that, Marisol. This was a very clear hit and run death resulting. No one, this was not a crime scene. It wasn't a murder investigation. So you can't let her go because the Canton police were a little casual with their police report. But the Massachusetts State Police did a very thorough job. I've kind of answered that a lot. I don't know who this younger Kurt is or older. I don't know what that means. Yes, I'm glad you asked that, Anthony. He looked at the jury and he realized he didn't need the rebuttal. That tells me he's got a good read on the jury. That was a gamble, by the way. Hank Brennan, there were several gambles he made during this. One was not doing the rebuttal. Another gamble was he didn't call Proctor. So the fact he didn't call the rebuttal, do the rebuttal, he felt confident enough. They get it. They looked at him with like, we don't need to hear any more of this. That tells me he's got a good read on the jury. Investigation, later foundation timeline. Yes. Hold on one moment, folks. Hold on. Yes. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Okay. She was drunk. Yep. I didn't know that. She sat in the courtroom with the Reed family, went out to dinner. Actually, I think I do remember that now. Yeah. I didn't hear that mentioned. See, the problem with doing that, accountability for Vermont, is then you get vested. So when this case was starting, I'm very cautious. When people make pronouncements, then they try to see everything into that. And so then they're in the hole. Like now, I don't know this person. I was on Court TV with this Annie Elise. But the problem with someone like her is now she can't come out and say, on second thought, her defense doesn't make sense. She's already vested. And the money is in the conspiracy. The law tubers, reasonable doubt, hung jury. I don't believe that. And I'll tell you why. The last trial, which was not as strong as this, they were 9-3 on just the manslaughter. 9-3. I'll tell you why I disagree with this. These people that say hung jury, to me, that's like a bullshit answer. And I'll tell you why. They're not going to let Peg O'Keefe down. He's dead. They're not going to let Hank Brennan down. I don't think people understand that. They're not going to let those two people down. It's not happening. I know, the dog. He died before he could develop bruises. I don't. Do you understand now they're saying the garage? If you start going down that rabbit hole, that lady said he was dead within 15 minutes. I can't. Thank you, Scorpio. I know. But that's because they found out about the case through the conspiracy. So then when you go into the maze of a conspiracy, they're just chasing the tidbits for the conspiracy. And when one wall falls, they just keep going along. Like and yesterday Jackson threw them a bone by mentioning the Google search, which they didn't even challenge that. Thank you very much, Laura Lee. I appreciate that. I don't know much about her, but I can tell when she said she thought the Dighton police officer made a big impression on the jury, that they don't even remember him now. They don't. They remember the blue paint. They remember Dr. Wolf. They remember the Karen clips. They remember the cell phone and the Lexus data. That's what they remember. They don't remember a lot of these people. How about the idiot that when I measured outside the house? I don't know, Ron and Ed. I know, Heather. We're going to get back to it. I'm doing it tonight. Yes, thank you, Debbie B. Live and subscribe. I appreciate that. There's Susie. Boomer's very talented. I like the choice. I like the choice. Yep, I like the choice. I mean, we're about to find out. Well, listen, here's what I like about this jury right now. He couldn't have done a better job. No one could have done a better job than Hank Brennan. There's no such thing as a perfect case. There's no such thing. It went on a long time. You're up against very talented, ethically challenged defense attorneys. No one could have put on a better case. The guilty verdict is right there for those that will look at it objectively. If those 12 people come back and say not guilty, there's nothing you can do. Yes, that's exactly right, Agent 99. 100%. Never. Listen, they don't. I deal with police forces that they never get murders. Canton, there's no murders in Canton. They don't handle that. The state police do. Were they a little casual? You know, there's also a blizzard. See, people go down that rabbit hole. Solo cops, blah, blah, blah. That had no bearing on it. Leaf blower. That's exactly right, Heather. She did. I don't know Annie. So, but if she was sitting with the Reed family, I mean, Hank needed help and only one person on earth could help him. I don't know what that means. I think so. Thank you, Laura Lee. Yes. Hold on, everybody. Go a few more minutes. Is it still raining out? Not seeing a body is not. Yeah, that's their idea of a great witness. Lucky's the best. He didn't see anything. Thank you, Kit Kat. There we go. She should have. She should have taken a plea deal. She should have. Just why was she blaming John's friends? Why was she blaming John's friends for what happened? There's a lot of questions. They look at Peg O'Keefe. Listen, they're not going to let Peg O'Keefe down. They're not going to let Hank Brennan down. And they're not going to let this judge down. No. You know, Brooke, and that was so important that the Boston media, they wanted to pretend Peg O'Keefe was invisible. So, and Peg O'Keefe was not invisible. Peg O'Keefe was right there and testified. And Peg O'Keefe, on top of that, was then sitting in court every single day. They're not going to let her. They're not going to let her down. And they're not going to let Hank down. I saw the way they looked at him. There's something wrong with some of the media. They are. That's exactly right. But some people don't follow it, or some people only follow some of the testimony from some of the Karen Reed supporters who don't want to talk about some of the evidence that is there, and they don't want to talk about the bruise on the right knee, and they don't want to talk about the effectiveness of the Karen clips. And why I think the younger jury, the cell phone testimony was so important because every one of those 18 jurors, they have a cell phone. Every person in that courtroom has a cell phone. Older people might be a little technically challenged, but not this jury. I thought John's cell phone and the temperature of the cell phone and where the cell phone was. Do you understand? The defense couldn't counter that. They couldn't counter it. They never got him in the house or the garage or the roof or a tree. Yeah. Piggyback the wrong, yes. Piggybacked the wrong horse. I don't know what that means, Uncle Adam. Yes, Julianne. Well, I mean, we never know, but as best as could be expected. I mean, I don't. Some of these people, I wanted this one or that one. I don't think it matters that much. I don't think it matters that much. I don't know who those people are. I don't know, Wendy. There's still, there's a big responsibility here, and there's forms to fill out. Yeah. The bruise thing is ludicrous. It is. I don't under people that say that, I'm surprised that that's even a potentially viable that people say that. The people that are trying to say no collision, then sorry guys, the people that are trying to say no collision are what about Dr. Welcher? I mean, the only way you could rationalize that, which by the way, his demonstration, his accident reconstruction was brilliant with the blue paint, dressed up like John. The only way you could rationalize that is if you want to say, well, he's a liar, or knock him and Shannon Burgess. So it's a lot of people are, well, we're going to find out. He does. Oh, it's so ridiculous, Agent 99. Dog bites. These people are lost. I'm not convinced of that, Karen. So I don't understand these definitive statements. I don't. And I get tired of just these definitive, she could never what are you talking about? We're all watching it. He was. And what are we so angry about? Yes, that's exactly right, Heisenberg. And then they tried to say, well, she meant when she was backing up and then tapped his car. That's not, no. The father knows, right? She went into self-preservation mode, and so did the father and the brother. Yes. Thank you, We the Captain. I didn't realize that. I appreciate that. It is. Echo. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point. It is. She should be. There should be lawsuits here. Think of this. Think of what they did. Colin Albert wasn't even mentioned in this trial. Colin Albert, they were labeled cop killers. There were people protesting outside their homes and businesses. Now they're not even mentioned. Now Jackson doesn't even have them have them in the house. If they abandoned the third party culprit that they did, then why were you protesting all the witnesses? Oh, there's going to be legal action. I don't know. He's a YouTuber. Okay. Brennan, see, I don't know. Like that stuff it's so stupid. Yeah. I mean, I just don't need people like that. Listen, she's mad because she couldn't get the changes that she wants for whatever that may be. So I'm not exactly sure what to make of that. But listen, this didn't go. Karen also wanted to pick out the balls of the alternates. Some people are posting videos of I'm police and those are dog bites. It's just stupid. Triple certified medical examiner testified no hit. But what about your own common sense? What about your own common sense? Yeah, he really did. All right, folks, I think it's going to stop raining. We're going to do more of these. I know there's a lot more comments I didn't get to, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to do more of these. Make sure you follow the channel. So, whoa, let me go back to that. What did I just see? Thank you, Anita. Why do you think they... Hold on one moment, folks. 1 second. 1 second. All right, and we're back. Thank you, Anita Hodge. Why do you think they couldn't prove Karen went by 34 Fairview on her way to see Kerry? I know the answer to that. Thank you, Anita Hodge. I like that. Stop lying. I'm quoting things that were in testimony. So, but I want to answer that. When she started going after Higgins, she shut off the guidance on her vehicle. So that's why they have her going by the temple. I'm glad you said that. I'm going to start. Hold on. I just saw that Anita had done that. So if you have a question, what do they call it? I forget what they call that. I'm going to answer some of these. I'm going to go down. So if you've supported, I know the answer to that. Bear with me. Because I want to give you, okay. So, okay, she drove past the temple at 5:18. At 5:23, she left a voicemail that sounds a lot like, is that you? So they believe John, is that you? Remember, to go from Temple to 34 Fairview is about a 3-minute ride. Temple to the McCabe's is a 4 to 5 minute ride. So where was she? She shut off her navigation. When she started going after Higgins, she shut off her navigation. Whoa, thank you, Anita. Ooh, let me go back. I didn't realize that. We're going to get better at this. Folks, again, I'm live 1 to 2, but you can tell that I don't get to go as in depth as we can here. That's a good way to get a question answered. What do they call those? Super chats or something? Debbie. Yeah, it's tough to tell, Agent 99. I think so. I loved when he said he's not a buffalo. Thank you, Choki. Thank you. Folks, it's not easy. That was ridiculous. I'm sorry. Some of these people. Yes, thank you, Jezebel. We're going to do more of it. Can someone, maybe Debbie can, what is it that I mentioned? Isn't it like it's like $1.99 or $2.99 or $19.99? It is, Tanya. I can give you more. What a drunk. She was drunk. How is she still here? Like Karen Charbonneau. So annoying. Like, folks, here's what you need to know. I don't care if I lose people. I don't want them anyway. I don't want them anyway. Yes. Yep. I think they're both, Jonna. Yep. That's exactly right. Joan that's a very good point. She started the lies right away. I didn't recognize that about the Adam's apple, but she looks horrid. Karen doesn't she looks terrible. It was CC. What a close. Really remarkable. Um, well, when she does. So Tanya has hit on something. Like there's some people that are on YouTube. I don't I think her name is like Melanie. Is it Melanie Little? Well, I don't know some of these women that are on YouTube. Karen is sending them things in real time from the courtroom. So, and then some of the people that appear for her, she's sending them what they call talking points, which is like a script, like say this. Also, now there's a woman on YouTube. She'll say, "All right, I want to alert everyone. I believe. Watch what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes." She just got information from Karen directly. That's what she's doing on her laptop and her phone. Going over to their table. That was so great. That he had them so rattled. That's why Alan Jackson was like flipping out. Oh, it's all about that show. It is. It's so disappointing. But I'll listen, folks. I've been doing this a while. Unbelievable, Bailey. I don't care what they think. Like I know what happened. I know what the truth is. I also know the other side keeps changing their stories and telling lies. So like I'm never changing. My approach is I put out what I know, and those that want the truth can find me. Eventually, not always right away. There's definitely more money with if you start spewing conspiracy. There's someone that had on X like 20,000 followers, and she has like 40,000. I mean, and on YouTube it's actually even worse. So that's why like who's the guy that did the Access Hollywood thing? Billy Bush. He was trying to do this, and and it's going nowhere. But it's all just they're just trying to like cash in. That's what it is. She was drunk. Yep. Matt Johnson. He works at Crook TV. I don't want to comment on anybody there. They're nice to have me on. He did have bruises. That's right, Laura. I think on all three. I think they have him. I think they have her. I think they do. There's also a lot of misinformation. I'll tell you, Tanya, why his eye was bruised. They believe now, when Jen McCabe and Kerry were there and found him, his right eye, it was like a giant eye, like an egg. It was like an egg. So they're not entirely sure, but they believe the spoiler on the Lexus clipped his right eye that way. So, but his eye was huge. When he got to the hospital, both eyes filled out like raccoon. But when they found him on the ground, it was just the right eye. Those people were trying to say it was from a fight. It wasn't from that. Yes, that's exactly right. How about that, Will? She denies she backed up. So the Lexus is like folks, it reaches a point where, well, Anita, they see this. I mean, there is someone with with Boston media, and she views if Karen, she is in agreement with Karen, verbal. Karen's like, if I get off this, you're coming with me. We're going to do a tour. You're going to be in the movie. You're going to be in the special. So there are people weighing, where can I make more money? And they view that in their mind, they make more money if she's found not guilty. But to me, that does not come into play. You cover what is the story, but that's how they view it. But she's not any. I know it's so terrible. I love how Hank started yesterday. His life meant something. He helped people. He was 46. My God. Oh, this must be late that I'm still seeing her stuff. Okay, yeah, it's really late. Let me scroll down a little bit. I listen, they're trying to balance everybody out. And Vinny has me on every night. He has me on every night. They don't tell me what to say. I can say whatever I want, essentially. I just have to go with the topic. I love that. He's not a body. Why would John would not stand still as she backed up? Well, he was trying to get out of the way. Why do you think she clipped him? And who would expect that to happen? Plus, he'd been drinking. Plus, it was dark. So he was trying to get out of the way. You don't say, well, she didn't clip him. See, the real question is, did she back up? Peony, whoever that is. So he did have bruises. Yep. Okay. But only one of them is on trial for murder. Boy, they're adamant, aren't they? I got to get rid of her. Oh God, no. Julie would never do that. I love Julie Grant. When did he go inside? They could never get him inside. They never got him inside. Nope. Of course, there's no dog attack. No. Oh, I'm looking right now at the clock, and then I'm realizing, like, wow, I'm way behind in trying to catch up. Are there any other super chat? I'll start to do that. Where isn't it like yeah, he was trying to get out of the way. He was trying to get out of the way. I don't know. I just have a problem with a lot of the Karen Reed people. I do, because they don't deal in reality, and they never answer a question. They never answer a question. I'm glad you asked that. How do I think they're going to react? They're not going to do anything. They may be upset, but there's not going to be a riot or anything. It's a lot of women out there, and they're going to skunk away, but they're not going to do anything. There's not going to be any riot or anything like that. I don't think so. Yeah, exactly, Joy. Who is this dog? What, a neighbor's dog? A neighbor's dog? Boomer is great. I think I'm on with him with Kevin. Yeah. Let me get the hang of this, then I'll start to have guests on. Well, Stacy, again, all right. I mean, do we really have to answer this? These are people that are not following the trial. Stacy, how did she hit John at 12:30 to connect to the Wi-Fi? Well, the Aperture people did it in 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Plus, Karen was flying. You heard how mad she was. When you heard those voicemails, does that sound like someone who would drive calmly? And there was no one on the road. So she could make it. You could make it in 4 minutes and 15 seconds if you went, 30, 35 miles an hour. She got home, looked at the taillight, and then she deleted that Ring camera video. Yep. No, I don't think that, Alicia. No. It is terrible. All right, let me try to catch up a little bit. She is. He was trying to get rid of her. He broke up with her in the car. I don't know who that is. She has millions of viewers. I don't know who that is. We believe that John said, that's it. I'm not dealing with this anymore. Like, I'm not dealing with this foolishness. And right there broke up with her. And as Hank Brennan said, but she had to have the final word. All right, I'm like way behind in the comments here. Do we have any more? What do they call them? Super chat? I need to get better with this. I'll be better the next time I do this. We're going to start doing these a lot more. Now, after the trial, I'm also going to have some of the witnesses on from the trial. You're going to want to hear that. We're going to have a lot of people. There's a heads up. Also, we may start to do this right around 4 o'clock the afternoon. Yeah, exactly. A middle-aged woman calls her parents at 1:03 in the morning. We know why she called. All right, let me try to catch up. So it's all still in development, but I think in the afternoon, like 4 o'clock, it's going to start to be live, and I will have on people connected with the trial. I have people lined up, but we want to wait till the trial's over. I don't know what's going to happen. I do not know. Let me see. I'll answer a question if it's in a. What are they? There we go. We the captain. What reason could jury say not guilty to murder two only? What reason could they give to murder two only? They could. That could be a verdict just on the other two. They could. Thank you, we the captain. I could use some guidance from some people on what that's called. I'm looking at right now because that's the direction we're going to go. They could come back with just a manslaughter. If they come back with a manslaughter, listen, I won't like it either, but I can live with it because she's going to face witness intimidation charges. Plus, she's got the civil suit, wrongful death from the O'Keefes. She's going to, look at this. She's going to be tied up legally for the next 10 to 20 years. But she's a nutcase. And, and there's other people that are involved with her that are going to end up in jail. And they're going to end up broken in jail, as a matter of fact. So I want to catch up here because there could be some people that did that. I appreciate that. Thank you for the debt. Thank you, Boomer. Boomer's terrific. I know. And they get so mad. Well, in Young Frankenstein, when Gene Hackman, right, who's passed away, but when he's blind and he says, "Oh, can you imagine the luck? You're a mute and I'm blind." And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, right? And then they're having cigars and a visitor like that. And he just does That's what La Posada sounded like. Russell, like ready to sexually attack Alessi in the limo. Oh, no. Oh, I'm the best in the world. Yeah, something in love. Me out first class. You got to put me up. I want a limo. That's, I don't know what to tell you. Some of those people. Yeah. Look at that. See? Like that was her. Well, I want to do it. I want to pick it. What does that tell you? What does that tell you her state of mind? They were trying to appease her. By the way, Karen also was the one. They basically abandoned the Google search. It was Karen that insisted that be more prominent in the closing. The defense was saying, we think we should highlight more some of the ARCA testimony, the medical examiner. La Posada. Karen was like, no. I want more on Jen McCabe. She was drunk. Exactly. Karen, all right, I know that, but if there was evidence, they would have been able to mention him. I'm well aware of why they didn't, but it tells you a lot. And you know why? The reason he didn't mention it in a pretrial hearing specifically, he could not mention him because they established he wasn't on 34, he wasn't on Fairview at the same time. That's why. Did that stop the protesters outside D&E Pizza? Did that stop people going to his college? Has that stopped people harassing him? Free Chloe. Yes, that's right, Ron Marshall. Happy birthday. You have to. Yes. Thank you, Alicia. I think I'm going to do a live like this every day this week. I do. When it's tough when I'm at the courthouse. But Court TV called me last night. They're going to do some live shows, and they've asked me to be part of it. I didn't know they were coming back. So, yes, great mods. Thank you, Tanya. Let me just go down a little bit. Boy, I'm still way behind, guys. I apologize. But super chats, is that what it's called? All right, good. Thank you, Jennifer. Yes. I think it's worth it. Hey, listen, I was in that courtroom more than any other member of the media. You're going to love. Wait till you see, here are some of the witnesses. Folks, no, there was nothing wrong with it. Listen, I'll tell you, when people say there was something wrong with the investigation, did they or did not they not make an arrest? Did they find the person? Yes. And look at how they're so angry because I don't believe their bullshit. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. In 2 seconds, you have to. In 2 seconds. If I started saying, hi there, Garney. If I started saying, that, there was no collision. Like, oh my God, it'd be a hero. Oh, isn't he the greatest? But because I won't say that, last year there's a member of the press, and she showed up the last day wearing pink and said, I can't stand it any longer. Karen Reed was framed. They're not even saying that this time. The defense isn't even saying that. What are they saying? No collision. And look at the talking point. He had no bruises. Yeah, except for the fractured skull. I guess that doesn't fucking count. Excuse my language. Oh, click fan funding. It'll show your super chats. All right. I'll work on that. That's right. No, Debbie B gets rid of the trolls. Good. I don't care. I have no interest in their opinion. Anyone that shows up outside the courthouse. There's Anita. Thank you, Anita Hodge. No. And now, listen, I'm going to be in the courtroom. I should be right now. I'm going to be Anita Hodge. I'm going to be in the courtroom for the verdict. If it's murder 2, they're going to drag her out in shackles. I just hope I'm not clapping too loud. I have my questions for when I get a chance to interview Hank. You guys are going to love that. Melanie Little. Yeah, that's her. See, I don't know a lot of those people. I don't pay attention. They're going to drag her out in chains. Yep. No more. No. Hey, and Karen at Framingham, I hear it's a weak pour. Too bad. Nope. We don't change. I'll share with you guys. So the fall of 23, because some people were like, oh, where was he then? And blah, blah, blah. I don't talk about it a lot. I was dealing with a cancer diagnosis. Those on Facebook would probably know. I had cancer surgery December 23. Go into 24. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to cover the trial. When I could go and start covering the trial, the win for me was just that I was able to do it. Because anyone that's gone through that, and it occupies so much of your mind. I'll tell you, cancer is a time thief because it weighs on your mind, and you have to go to so many doctors. And I've been going back and forth to Dana-Farber, and then I finally agreed on surgery, and went up to Brigham, and thank God it was successful. With a great surgeon, but going into 24, he was, the surgeon was like, you're in the clear, no hint, should be fine. What's the biggest thing you want to do? And I said, cover the Karen Reed trial. But based on reality, which is why we're here. Yes, that's exactly right. I don't know her. But notice things they don't talk about. Let me try to catch up. They don't talk about the Karen clips. They don't mention I've seen this clown. He gave Kevin a hard time. I'll tell you, they don't talk about that she's drunk. But see, the buffalo in the prairie, what does that tell you? No one from the Commonwealth has ever given me talking points. It's ridiculous. Think of this. The Karen Reed defense didn't realize they needed to tell her, don't describe him as a buffalo on the prairie. The Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, they're thinking, oh, wow, we didn't realize we need to tell her, don't imitate and mock Peg O'Keefe. There's Sal. That's right. Birthday shout outs. So anyhow, hey, Thursday is a national holiday. See, that's ridiculous, Anita. I did see that. Someone contacted me from Billy Bush. I refused. I'm not. I can't. It's a waste of time. He's not serious. That stuff is bullshit. There was no collision. Are you imitating Alan Jackson? That's just stupid. That's a stupid comment. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Eileen. I'm sitting around, I'm thinking about it, and then I'm trying to find an outlet like this platform where I can be interactive like this, which I'm wildly enjoying. I can showcase humor. Lawyer, what? Guys, total pro defense. That's his whole shtick. They never talk about the Karen clips. They never talk about that she was drunk. They don't talk about that the Google search is dead. They don't listen to me. That's a litmus test. You just ask them, do you now accept that Jen McCabe never Googled that at 227? It's a yes or no question. If they say, I still believe it, there's no point in talking to them. There isn't. That's exactly right, Brooke. He was great. Dr. Wolf, the brain surgeon, that guy, you guys, whew, he was like out of a movie. He was like the voice of God. He was so phenomenal, and the jury was clear. See, I don't know who that is. Like, I hear these names about that they badmouth me, but it's all just because I won't say what they're saying. Now, how come people? That's my name, right? This is what I look like. That's my name. I don't hide under these different. That guy, he wanted to go on some show, and they wanted to use his real name, and he wouldn't give his real name, so they wouldn't go on. But they said, you're not coming on here unless you give us your real name. Now, a lot of times, I don't know his case. I don't know that guy, but a lot of times, the DUI guy, I think that idiot was in the courtroom. That's usually, police tell me that's somebody who's wanted on warrants, who's wanted for outstanding warrants or lawsuits. So they won't give their real name so they can't be tracked down. Listen, at this point, it's just, I know, the glass in the hand and the straw. You know what else? The sneaker was big testimony. The sneaker was very powerful. In ARCA showing how the sneaker twisted off was amazing. I've seen Tony Bruschi. I love to follow him. I've heard that. See, who would do that? I didn't even know that. Annie made a short about Jen McCabe. Why are you picking on a witness? What if these were members of a gang? What if a family was at a restaurant and they saw some gang members kill someone, and then the gang members started hanging out in front of their house, or like a cartel or M13 or like that, and then they start. Would you go after anyone that goes after the witnesses? There's something wrong with them, and I mean the witnesses of the Commonwealth. I mean, I'm just poking fun a little bit. I know. WD-40. I appreciate that. See, the problem is, if I don't go on, Julie's great. I love Julie great. Peg O'Keefe. I gave her a big hug in the courtroom, in the hallway the other day. I love Peg O'Keefe. She's the mother of all towels. Good. Yeah, get rid of these nutcases. I don't care. Who's getting the first Hank interview? That's a good question. We'll see. Let me think. Let me see. Duty Ron. I don't know him. I can't believe like some of these people that are police that. Well, I'll answer that, Olga. Where's John's glass come from? According to Karen Reed, he got out of the vehicle with the glass. So there's that. He took her glass. He was trying to listen, come in the house. Like the carrot. Come into the house. Listen, I know you're a drunk. Here's your booze, Karen. Maybe she hit him because he took her glass. She was drunk. Yeah, the one man. I don't know. I can't, folks, at this point, I'm turning the sandwich. That clown. At this point, I have started, all right, like yesterday, I did Court TV in the morning. And then, you can't talk as they're doing closing. Then I was live 1 to 2, trying to find a nice spot to do it. Then I did Fox Nation. And then I did Court TV last night. So, I mean, there are people that are offering. I couldn't even go on with with Kevin yesterday. Yellow Cottage Tales, who I love. I love Kevin. So that's right. That's right, Kat. Yes. Folks, there's a lot. This is the battle of good versus evil. And I want you to know that, and I pray for the O'Keefes and the witnesses every night when, listen, I don't care. I mean, I tell, first of all, this is Saint Pedrin, which is the patron saint for all cancer survivors. And listen, I don't care. I grew up Catholic, Roman Catholic, so there's nothing wrong with saying the rosary. I've been saying the rosary. People said, "Are you praying for her to be?" No, I'm praying for the O'Keefes to get through this. I'm praying for the jurors to have the courage to do this. So, where is he? I don't know. I don't. The person, who's asking that? Thomas. I don't see him on Fox. I don't see him on Court TV. I don't know. I don't know who that is. Yes, he was found. Yeah. Listen, and I get that because, and as some people say, because yeah, that's right, Robert. Jackson, there was no collision. Hank was great. Doesn't Hank sound like Humphrey? He sounds like Bogart. He talks his clip. He sounds like Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca. Put that down. Put that phone down, like that. Or I'll use it. He's got such a unique style, but he absolutely knocked it over the park. He's a brilliant guy. I'll share with you guys. I don't know if I've said this. So, this Scorpio, Foreman thoughts. I like the choice. I like the choice for a lot of different reasons. I like his demeanor. I think the judge could tell. Oh, thank you, Scorpio. He took it very seriously. He didn't. You don't have to transcribe everything. He took it all in. He didn't take a lot of notes. You don't have to take a lot of notes. I think it's an easy case to understand. There were some people that were writing down friggin' everything. So I think it's a good choice. He seems like an earnest individual. And I think some other things. I don't know his name. I don't know where he lives. I don't know where he works. I don't know anything about him. But I like the way he reacted to certain things when Jackson was trying to say, like they wouldn't be doing this with someone else. He didn't like that. I think that's right, Curly. And let me tell you something else. She was drunk. She could sing. She could dance. She was Wall's protege. Yeah, I love that. That's really probably my favorite film. But I'll share with you guys really quickly on the Saturday. I'm glad I did this. So during one of it was either hearing or jury selection. I don't know. And I want you to, do you guys realize I've been living at that friggin' courthouse since mid-April. As one of the court sheriffs said, I think you're going to have to pay taxes in Dedham. You've been in Dedham so much. Hank Brennan, I think I can, I can say this, but outside the courtroom, he's the new special prosecutor. And he walked up to me and put out his hand and said, "John DePietro, I am a huge fan of yours." Boom. And I've heard it's just because he does. He liked my approach to the case. He liked the way I reasoned to the case. He also knows, as I've told people, listen, you learn a lot. Like I learned a lot with the Aaron Hernandez trial. I've covered a number of different trials. You learn by doing it. And then you can tell who's good and who's not good. So do I think Bev knows she's guilty? An interesting point is the judge watches the jury as well. The judge knows who's paying attention. The judge sees how they react. I think the judge has a lot of respect for Hank Brennan. We know what she thinks of the defense as they've lied to her. Okay, thank you, WB. I will do that. So we're going to have to find out. I don't know. Let me see if I can catch up here. Oh, yeah. I'm on with Julie Monday morning. So we start the week. Monday morning, I will be live on Court TV. And then I'm live on Court TV Monday night. So it was really, thank you. I also did the Fox documentary. That was really interesting. It was during the week. I don't remember when. It was like an hour and a half. And it was just totally, I think so, Laura. I have a feeling. I think the world, I mean, the guy is just so, he wouldn't be doing this. He's a criminal defense attorney. He's a criminal defense attorney. He's earnest. He backs what he has to. He just has a good way. I wish, my dad would have enjoyed watching him. I loved my parents. Rest in peace. I'll think of my dad tomorrow on Father's Day. He would, I like when Hank Brennan says, over here, because they're panicking and they're looking at the defense table. Like, you didn't tell me they were going to ask me this. Look, over here. I also like, he'll ask a question. Arca, they dodge it. You didn't like that question? I love that. I love that. Yes. I like Paul. I love Paul. Paul and I talk at the courthouse. We do. And I told him, listen, brother, this thing, I like Paul O'Keefe a lot. He's been through a lot. He is. Yeah. Imagine that showing up in pink. Karen Reed was framed. She was drunk. I'm glad Hank said it yesterday. She was drunk. She couldn't sing. She couldn't dance. She couldn't make it with waltz. And she was the greatest pizza man. I don't know Pat Brown. You guys know more of some of these people than I do. I haven't had time. Thank you. Well, I can't swear on the radio. That's the problem. That's why we're going to gravitate into here. Now, some of the Facebook people, a lot of, listen, that he's a pathological liar. He is. And his version of the case, notice it keeps evolving. It doesn't. Come on. We all saw the data. Come on. She backed up and hit him. She didn't think that they'd have the data from her Lexus, and they certainly didn't think that you could get temperature and location with the cell phone. And she screwed the breather. He was dead in 5 minutes. La Posada. I arrived. Station nightclub fire. I was there the early morning hours. I was on the radio all day. I was on the radio station from 10 in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. I don't know, 6 o'clock at night, something like that. I went back to the scene because they were going to have a press conference at 9 o'clock. As I'm there, the police, and actually at the time I knew another state official, said, do you see who just arrived at the same time? This is at night now, right? Fire started 11:03, Great White on stage, Thursday night. Friday was the day. I said, no, who? That's the medical examiner. 7:30, 7 o'clock at night. I was a hero. You were a hero. Yeah, they would have named the state after you if it actually showed up in daylight. Thank you, True Drops. So, but I love that about Hank. Reed's parents, they give me, people sometimes elbow me, and I'll look over old man Reed. They glare at me. Those on Facebook know. Listen, I have been attacked during 2020. I can't see out of this eye at night. The Antifa protesters, they shot a Pitney laser and blinded me in this eye. Both eyes had to have treatment. I had to go to the optometrist 11 times. We almost lost my right eye from the protests. And then another time in the protest, they had a box cutter and they cut my sweatshirt down the back. Missed it, grazed it, so I had to start wearing tactical gear. And then many of you know, don't worry, I solved a murder. Those of you on Facebook would know that more than anyone. I solved the Charlotte Lester murder case. I put it together. I knew who did it, and I hounded that guy. And he did have me arrested for trespassing, but then the case was dismissed. But he is right now sitting in prison at the ACI in Cranston for Murder one. He murdered Charlotte Lester in his house, and he buried in a shallow grave. And the family has recognized me, the police. So, like, I know what it's like to go through the process of the investigation. And I was like, it all points back to this guy. So I want you to understand, like, I don't just, and I didn't know where that was going to go, right? We did searches. I stayed on that case. I drove him crazy. He attacked me with a running lawnmower. He was trying to kill me. So he told them. He thought I was just filming. He didn't get that it was a live stream. So, and then he pled no contest to, that's felony murder. He's going to be sentenced for it. He's being held without bail. But so my point is, like, I don't just talk the talk. If Karen Reed found not guilty of murder 2, she'll be out in 10 to 15. That's an interesting question. If found not guilty on murder 2, maybe less than that, but then she's going to face charges for witness intimidation. And those are, she faces conspiracy charges, and those are really serious charges. So she still has a lot of legal problems, but I believe the minimum for manslaughter is 5 years. Then it would become sentencing. But that's a very good question. Thank you, We the Captain. All right, I think I'm getting the hang of this. Tanya. That's exactly right, Tanya. I'm glad you said that. And now I can try to catch up. See, folks, and I want to be very clear. I believe the no collision is a lose because it's insulting. I'm glad Tanya said that. And the Alan Jackson idea is we're going to convince these idiots there was no collision here. Are you going to believe me or your lying eyes? It doesn't matter who you are with your educational background. You could tell there was a collision. Broken taillight. He's found in the debris field of a broken taillight. And there was no collision. That you're asking the jury to suspend common sense. I think that was a lose. And thank you, Tanya. I'm glad. I think they would have been better to argue that, yes, thank you, Joy. I think they would have been better to argue that, thank you, Kit Kat, new member. I think they would have been better to argue that she accidentally backed it up. Like she meant to peel out. I was so mad. I wanted to get away from him. And I accidentally went backwards instead of forwards. I think they would have been better of, listen, maybe the thing malfunctioned. I told, whatever, something like that. But I believe it's a lose. This really, like, who believes that there was no collision? Look at some of these people, though. I don't have time. I don't have time. Thank you, Tiger Lily. So, folks, it is. I'm telling you, Laura. My biggest fear is if they drag her out in shackles, I hope I'm not cheering too loudly. The Reed people look at me with dagger eyes. They all do. Like, whatever. Some members of the media don't like it. Too bad. Folks, listen, God is on our side. This is the battle of good versus evil. It is. And they're brutal. They're brutal. Whenever they do look ridiculous. Thank you, Juju. Whenever, listen, I sometimes, you get a little bit like, do I need this headache? But I think of what the McCabe's have gone through. And I think of what Allie McCabe has gone through. And I think what Jen McCabe has gone through. I love Jen McCabe. She was a great witness. They were trying to help John. I think of what Brian Albert has gone through. Brian was like, hey, I want to get to know this better. Come over to my house. I like to befriend him. There's no way that Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe would allow anyone to do that to John. It's moronic. And I'm glad that Hank Brennan mentioned that yesterday, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I can't wait. He was denied some promotion. It's all like bullshit. Like, there's all kinds of these people that want to throw themselves in. It was like that lady. I saw John kiss her on the head. I've never seen that before. What is that? She wants to get on. I don't know what to make of that. Yes, thank you, Kat. But folks, we don't, listen, there's really good people. And I've met so many good people through this that this is we don't sit back when evil is moving forward. I didn't have to. Like I get like initially they're like, why are you even involved at that? Like, listen, I'm an independent. I get to cover whatever case I want to. And I know a lot. And I started to realize I knew a lot more than other members of the media. I've covered more trials. I know more about police. I work with police. I ride with police. I do fugitive task force. I've done some of the ICE stuff. I like police. You need police. There's a lot of anti-police people. There's one member of the media. She does not see John as a good guy. She doesn't see John as an uncle. She doesn't see John O'Keefe as a son or a brother. The only way that she views him is as a cop, and she hates cops. And they think I was on one of the shows with, I think she's on Canada NBR or something, and they hate police. And she's like, the only reason they're doing this is because she's a woman. Well, that's ludicrous. That's not it. Thank you, Shannon. So this isn't going to be fun, you guys. I'm so glad I did this. How about Miss Little? How about, I mean, what did she do? She did something wrong that Alan said, listen, I don't want to do this, but to teach you a lesson, Nick Rocco is going to cut your hair tonight. And he gave her those bangs. I mean, I heard it was done to make an example out of her. That's what I've heard. Good. I like the buffalo on the prairie thing. God, I'm still way behind here. Some of these people, folks, they're in the rear view. Nope. Let me try to catch up here. What time? I'm at 2:13, and right now it's 2:32. Let me just, I'm skimming. Now I see why people say I'll read from the super chats and so forth, because otherwise you just fall too far. But also, I was talking a lot in the beginning. I try to get out what I want. Otherwise, then I get too distracted. So the people, and by the way, the state police, they're terrific. I like dealing with them. I don't think all cops are corrupt. The police, so what? Everybody has to get let go. And Proctor, like whatever. See, there are some people that think she should be let go because of what Proctor said. That's moronic. That was a private. Listen, the guy shouldn't. What more do you want? 231. Okay. What more do you want? The kiss on the forehead. Was that embarrassing? I've never seen anything like that. That lady went to the salon that day, to the spa. She's getting ready to go have some drunken brunch with her friends. I loved Karen. First of all, I don't even believe they were friends because she said she was drinking water. Karen only wanted to hang around with other drunks. What? Water? That's the weak pour. Yeah, as if as if Karen would hang around with someone. Oh, I chatted with Karen. I remember Karen mentioning a weak pour. That fucking lady. Jesus. I can't wait. Oh, I may then we'll be live outside of Framingham. Yep. No, there won't be a riot. There's Angelo. Hola. Hammersmith Farm. First of all, it's Hammersmith Farm, not Farms. I know Hammersmith Farm. It's in Newport. That's where, Jackie O, that's where the Kennedys had gone. Karen with her weird Fall River accent. I'm driving. The music's blasting you too. The heater. There's no music in the car. John was like, listen, you're a nutcase and I'm not dealing with this. And you know what? Hammersmith Farm, postage stamp. Every piece of property on Fairview is 1 acre. Like, excuse me. It's a postage stamp. More bullshit from her. Hammersmith Farm. She said Hammersmith Farms. No, it's Hammersmith Farm, Karen. She does have a weird Fall River accent. Or is it Brockton? Her voice. Oh, John! I fucking hate you. Oh, yeah, she's calm. I was on with Nurse Kim. Just a typical couple argument. Yeah, yes. Thank you, Seagate. Yeah. How about that? I'm thinking that. We'll be live outside of Framingham. So the haircut, that's what we've heard. Yep. That Nick Rocco, they cut her bangs to teach her a lesson. It was like what they call a code red. I don't know exactly what happened, but she was supposed to be paying attention. She missed something. So to make an example of her, Joy, they cut her bangs, Miss Little. That's rough. Big time rough. Yeah. Kiss on the forehead. He was trying. You know what else I liked how lies a little. Yeah, that's it. I like how that was the punishment. Do I really have to? This won't hurt a bit. Yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah, they were stinking. Still think they paid Aperture more money. You mean Arca? You mean Arca? Hold on. Now I see why. I got to just spit it out. I lost my train of thought. Oh, where was the? You know what I liked? I liked how Hank Brennan said he was safe. He got out of the vehicle. He's safe. Good. Now I can go in the house and hang out with. I like this crew, but not Karen. He did. He did. Yep. You take away the text. There was nothing wrong with that investigation. Yeah. The gasp. He's nice to me. Yeah, Framingham. Weird Framingham accent. Yeah, total Brockton accent. Karen. Yeah. Ugh. Trying to get away from her. Oh, yeah. Big time. Listen, he's trying to. It's not easy. It's not easy. Listen, all I know is they're nice to me. Just watch her interview. That's exactly right, Ron. How about that? Well, I wouldn't go on. Thank you, Rockstar. I wouldn't go on the expressway. Put it that way. I love that. Marvin Hagley. Yeah, Marvelous Marvin. He's from Brockton. Thank you. Yeah, people like the humor. And it'll grow on you. I don't know. Thank you, Nurse Kim. Yeah, Benny. She's got the timelines down, right? But the timelines are meaningless because they can't get him in the friggin' house. Jackson, he might have been in the garage. We know he was in the tool shed. Come on. Penny, I'll do that because I got to shut this down. I'll do that for what do they call that? I'll take requests. We could do that. What do they call that? A super chat. For a super chat, I'll do the I'll do La Posada. Yes. There was no reason to. Oh, they're going to start going in all the other houses in the neighborhood? Imagine you get a knock at the door. Yeah. Across the street, a guy was found dead on the lawn. We want to search your house. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you talking about? No one's coming in here. I don't know what you're talking about. By the way, they went into the house. House didn't look disarray. I covered a story. Someone was murdered at an after-hours club. All right, in the basement of an after-hours club. There's a fight, and then someone was murdered in an after-hours club. You should have seen what the place looked like. So if John O'Keefe had been in a fight, pictures knocked off the wall, things broken, there's dents in walls. All of them would have had bruises on them. He was a 6'1" Boston cop. He wouldn't have gotten a few punches. The whole thing. But on top of that, the house would have been, you'd be able to tell. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's her. I think so, Margaret. I appreciate that. So, well, we're going to find out. Let me touch on that. I don't have the time, Trisha. I cannot do both. When the trial is over, we resume patrol. If there's a scene, I'll go to it. But if I'm right now, I can't do both court TV and being out. I can't. So the trial will be over soon. And then, Gary. Oh, A drunk. I think they're fine. I think the jury's fine, Rockstar. I almost caught up. Almost caught up. They've not. They did go in the house. Who's saying that? What are you talking about? They went in the house. That's stupid. Don't you guys come on at this point. Don't say embarrassing things. Don't say things like that. I mean, if you don't know, that's fine. But don't. You know what a problem is? People that just regurgitate. They don't know, so then they say, "Well, that's what I heard." The first thing they did when Brian Albert walked downstairs, the Canton police were in his house. So that's not true. Thank you. I appreciate that. He's gifted. Is that a compliment or an insult? I don't know. Yeah, that's right. They were tired. They drove back and forth. Yeah, they drove to New York for a police officer's funeral and then decided to come home and with no motive or reason and kill someone in their own home. I know. I think the truth is out. The truth, actually, I just saw that. I hope the truth did come out. Hank Brennan gave the truth out yesterday. Yeah, Hank Brennan had the truth yesterday for all that want it. Okay, listen, folks. We'll do this tomorrow. We'll do this tomorrow on Father's Day. Why not? All right. Thank you, everybody. We went way longer than I thought. Thank you to everyone, and we're going to have more on this. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.